Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
A lot on the agenda at Danny Clinkscale's Weekend Sports Wrap right here on the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent commentary for this weekend, and we look ahead to a whole lot of things from baseball to tennis to a little bit of radio as well. There's a whole lot to talk about as I bring it to you here from Boston. Some family time I'll talk about a little bit as well. It's a beautiful day here. I hope you're enjoying your summer and hope I can add a little bit to it as we get post-All-Star break into the dog days of the baseball season, but almost to football training camp as well. A lot to talk about today on the Weekend Sports Wrap, Danny's Weekend Sports Wrap, straight ahead. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway in Cassold covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing. But it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Danny Clinkscale's Weekend Sports Wrap on the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. That comes on DannyClinkscale.com. Is that enough Danny Clinkscales for you? I hope so, because I don't want to say Danny Clinkscale much anymore. But I am here actually doing this podcast from my family home in Framingham, Massachusetts, in the house that I actually moved to when I was 8 years old and my parents still live in. And it just provides me a little chance to make sure to remind you to embrace your family and make sure you stay in touch and things like that, because I am here for not the best of purposes. I'm here to have a family confab about the health of my father, whose health is waning, and family decisions have to be made regarding that. And while I was here, my mother actually lost a brother, so it's certainly not a great time in the Clinkscale family home, but it is a chance for us all to get together today and discuss things. And and generally share each other's company, which I don't get to do too often. Almost all of my siblings live right here in this area, and my sister is only a few hours away. So I'm the one who comes a great distance to see these type of situations. I don't get here very often, so I try to treasure it even under the worst of circumstances. And this isn't quite the worst of circumstances, but just make sure that maybe if you've gone a little too long without seeing family, that maybe you get around to it. So there's my little message for today as I sit in what has been the epicenter of the baseball world this weekend after the All-Star break. Who gets the focus? And Sunday Night Baseball, well, the Red Sox, they're almost a regular feature on Sunday Night Baseball, but it's the Dodgers, it's the Red Sox, and it does create quite a dichotomy of situations when we usually open this Monday podcast at this time of year by talking about the Kansas City Royals, which we will in just a couple of minutes. But just the differences when you're here and the Dodgers and the Red Sox are having a renewal of the World Series from last year and a rematch, and everything is focused on the Red Sox who haven't quite hit their stride yet, and just the difference in intensity and pressure in a market like Boston on a baseball team, particularly a defending champion baseball team, is really palpable to the point where old friend Tom Keegan, who of course for years was with the Lawrence Journal-World, now is the lead columnist for the Boston Herald, and he wrote a column just as the series was about to begin, calling it a must-win series for the Red Sox. Now, don't take it too far. He wasn't saying that the Red Sox were doomed if they didn't win the series. What his point was that they hadn't done a very good job with the better teams in baseball and basically had moved their record to 9 games over 500 by just beating the lesser lights. Usually the prescription is play 500 against the good teams and beat up on the bad teams. Well, the Red Sox hadn't even been doing that. So that was his point, but it just really kind of shows that a column that focuses on the fact that a July series against an opponent that's not even in your league is a must series. It gives you an idea of the intensity that's brought to that particular series, which featured 2 blowouts in a tight game and packed houses at Fenway Park, and all of the things that go into making Boston baseball such an intrinsic part of what goes on here in this part of the country. Meanwhile, and perhaps it also is shown by the fact the Red Sox made a deal to pick up a 5th starter, Andrew Cashner, sending a prospect, a mid-level prospect, to get a 5th starter. Meanwhile, the Royals, over the weekend, traded away Homer Bailey, and you just see the type of lack of value you get for a middling regular pitcher, even one who perhaps can go into somebody's rotation. When you saw the return that the Royals got, a light-hitting outfielder with some athletic ability who was a sandwich pick fairly recently, but still not a great return, but some return. And that's what the Royals were looking for when they signed the Chris Owings, the Homer Baileys. Now, obviously, Owings they're going to get nothing for. Lucas Duda, they're likely not to get anything for, maybe cash or something like that. So some of the Billy Hamilton, maybe a little bit because he can run and provide, really September speed, even if then the rosters are expanded. Literally, they might trade Billy Hamilton. He possibly could get sent to the minors and then brought up in September. But even if they don't decide to do that, he'd probably get some value as a pinch runner to somebody. But when you see what the Royals were able to get for Homer Bailey, then you realize they probably aren't going to exactly fatten up on some of these people. But some of these pieces, you never know. They can become players eventually. And the story of Whit Merrifield obviously resonates anytime you're getting a prospect who perhaps isn't all that highly regarded. The Royals continue to be that team that is a bit of a strange team because they are playing .340 baseball, and you actually can find quite a few positives for the Royals, and they provide some entertainment amidst baseball that is miserable. It doesn't seem like you're watching a team that barely wins 1 out of every 3 games, and this weekend provided perhaps a little bit of optimism and light because the Royals actually won a series against a team that they were supposed to beat. There's not too many of those. In fact, there's you can count them on the hands on one finger and less than that, teams that the Royals are actually considered better than. And they just kind of looked the part against the Tigers, and obviously the pitching got away after trading Bailey on Sunday, and they lost that wrap-up game with a chance to sweep. But still a lot of runs were scored, and there was some entertainment provided, and that's really what you're hoping for the fans. The positives that have been positives most of the year continue really to be those, and Whit Merrifield, a 12-game hitting streak after a flat spot, a long one, Alex Gordon has returned to reasonable form, and he is a viable, good baseball player for them. Jorge Soler has not slacked off. He continues to hit home runs, did so again on Sunday. This month he has an OPS of almost 1,200, so he continues to be someone who is a very viable player. Reports this weekend that the Royals have absolutely positively told teams they will not trade Whit Merrifield. That doesn't even strike me as news. I think before the message might have been, yeah, sure, we'll trade him, but you're going to have to give us a trade that most people would think is lunacy on your part, and that means that we know that Whit Merrifield will be around. Jorge Soler, he's always been an interesting question this year. He does hit home runs. You can see this developing into something. You can also make a case because of the strikeouts and the seemingly diminishing pitch recognition that he has had as far as drawing walks and swinging at good pitches are concerned, that he might turn around and hit 18 home runs and hit 210 next year. So would this be the time to actually, if the right deal were offered, deal him away? I would probably lean in that direction. I would be surprised if the Royals lean in that direction, but certainly Jorge Soler, be he a trade piece now or in the future or a viable part of the future, certainly a step forward this year as a positive story. Brad Keller pitched a great game the other day. That's something that the Royals really need. They can't have him fading away into just another guy pitcher. He has to be someone who you would hope is at least a 3 in a rotation. You can dream about him being a viable 2. Had those dreams maybe as the season began. Maybe those dreams faded away a bit as his performances weren't so good, but he has pitched well of late and pitched a great game over the weekend. So that is certainly a positive as well. And Adalberto Mondesi seems to have settled into maybe a season that is going to be pretty good, not spectacular, a stepping stone perhaps to what the Royals think that he can be. And now to the concerns, and we will get to Bubba weekend, that's for sure, but the concerns right now, certainly Hunter Dozier. Since he came back from his oblique injury, he's 14 for 74. That obviously is not even a 200 batting average. He is homerless this month. You hope that maybe he's not healthy completely and that he's trying to fight through something, but health for Dozier has been an important aspect of his inability to become a factor for the Royals until this season when completely healthy. Before the injury, he looked like a budding star, someone who was coming into his own. You'd like to see that rebound and turn because Hunter Dozier was probably, Soler was a good story, but I think there's some doubt still there because of the all-or-nothing nature of his game. Dozier looked to be the big story for the Kansas City Royals, and right now that seems to be somewhat in question. That's a pretty good stretch of time, 74 at-bats. You'd like to see him turn it around as well. Nicky Lopez, I guess you have to hope that this is just a learning position for him because there's nothing that he's showing, despite a couple of little brief hot spells, that adds up to what we were sold about Nicky Lopez, that he was just a different kind of ball player in this day and age, a high contact, good batting average, not that much power, but could be pesky and hit maybe 280, 290. There were dreams of more. Well, he's settled in about 235, and it's kind of a consistent 235. He doesn't walk like he did in the minors. He strikes out more than he did in the minors. But he's only 23 years old, so perhaps playing day in, day out this season will provide some of the things that will be an experience that he can build on because the signs aren't great, but guys do go through 2/3 of a full season playing, which Lopez will if he continues to play and play and play, and it provides a baseline for improvement and getting better. We saw that with some of the other Royals' younger players in the championship years, but Lopez does seem to be a player who, to me, is an outlier. He doesn't play like baseball is played now, and some of the attributes that he exhibited that were supposed to be such strengths are muted now that he's in the major leagues. Maybe he can learn. I don't think he can learn to hit for any more power, so he's going to have to be somebody who draws walks. He's going to be somebody who has to hit 280, 290 to be a valuable player because he doesn't run all that well. He's a good but not great fielder, at least from what I see. So it is an interesting story. Little guys who make us think that we could have played in the major leagues are people that fans end up rooting for, and Nicky Lopez certainly is one of them, but right now that's sort of just hope, not things that you viably think could actually happen. And, of course, this was the weekend of the debut of Bubba Starling. It was a good time for it right after the All-Star break. He certainly had earned it with